All right, welcome back, everybody. I'll tell you what, big Tish James in New York. She now faces the music. And what's the media's response to all of this? Watch this.
It's an extremely serious use of the Justice Department to prosecute someone for what looks like a technical violation. And again, the ill-gotten gains alleged here, less than $19,000, under circumstances which we can all see are highly, highly questionable.
No, we can't all see that. A technical violation. It sure looks to me like she broke the law. And by the way, there are victims in this, the bank. When it came to President Trump's case that Letitia James brought, there were no victims. And all the banks said they profited handsomely off President Trump's deal. Well, I want to bring in now Republican strategist and attorney Mehek Cook is back with us. Mehek, it is so great to have you back on again.
Thanks for having me, Grant.
All right, Mehek, I can't help but look at the media, their reaction to this. Everybody does this. It's a technical violation. What do you say to them?
Grant, where was this media when Letitia James was going after President Trump for bogus charges today? I think the hypocrisy is staggering, and the American people are watching not only the Democrat Party implode, but that the media is in their pocket. Letitia James continued to preach nobody is above the law, but now she stands for the very crime she falsely charged President Trump for, and she's now taking herself out. And I love this. The law is clear. You have to have an intent to defraud. And she did. It's her own signature on those mortgage documents. And there is a crime here. Prosecutors are alleging she was able to save close to $19,000. When you look at President Trump's case, when Letitia James was going after him, the bank was actually benefiting from doing business with President Trump. Here you have a woman that continued to lie on the backs of hardworking Americans that she pledged to make sure that she supported. So the hypocrisy is staggering, and we're going to see that there is a one-tier justice system today in America. It's called the rule of law.
And I want to ask you about that, because something very different that they're doing in this case than President Trump was up against. Remember, President Trump went up against a liberal jury, a liberal judge, a radical system. This case is brought in Virginia, I believe. A blue area. The grand jury that indicted her, it wasn't Trump that indicted her, a grand jury did. And I'm sure it was mostly Democrats on that grand jury, Mehek.
Yes, I mean, you're looking at Virginia, which is a blue state. You're looking at a grand jury that is looking at the evidence. These are her peers that said, slam dunk, there is an indictment. They're seeing fraud here. So we're going to see how this case unfolds. And as I said, the prosecution doesn't have to make up a crime. It doesn't have to make up a theory. All it has to do is present to the jury how Letitia James benefited. She signed a document, Grant. This is a slam dunk case, and it's going to show the American people. It doesn't matter if you're a prosecutor or the president of the United States or just a common man. You will not break the law in this country under this administration and hopefully future administrations. We need to set a precedent here that the law matters.
Well, look, I will say this. I've said it last night. I'll say it again tonight. Karma is a witch with a B, and karma's coming back to get her in this. Listen, look at this little flashback we have for you. Cut 27.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
That was going after President Trump, was what she was saying, Mehek. Now, she claims that we're coming after her, but again, it's a very different situation. Do you think they get a conviction in this case? I know it's very hard to predict how these things go down, but she signed the paper. She doesn't live in Virginia. She lives in New York. How does she say it isn't what it seems to be?
Well, you have to remember, President Trump built skyscrapers, created jobs. Letitia James called it fraud. Now, she's allegedly lied on a bank document to get cheaper loan, and she's calling it politics, and that's what the media is doing today. I think it's going to be a case where we have the law on our side. She should be getting 30 years per count. But at the end of the day, I think the grand jury is going to look at this and say there's not harm, even though legally there is. Grant, I think it's going to be hard to convict. But again, if we looked at just the law, and if I was on that jury, I would say we should be convicting this woman because she broke the law.
You know, I don't know if this counts as a disagreement with you, because usually you and I are spot on. I think we get a conviction, but I think you get some kind of suspended sentence. The truth is it's $18,000, right? So, and that's over the course of the loan. We're only 4 years into the loan. So, you know, you're like $8,000 is what the damage is. I think they can convict her. But I think the judge says, you know what, we're gonna sentence you to absolutely nothing, maybe a little probation.
I can agree with that. I think there needs to be a conviction, but let's back up. The fact that President Trump has a new attorney general or AG actually looking at this case and prosecuting, I think Letitia James is actually going to push and say this AG should not have been assigned as the prosecutor on this case. I think that's the first hurdle that the prosecution has to get through, why they can have a new prosecutor on this case versus the old prosecutor. And my guess is that the judge is going to let this case continue to go through.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mehek Cook, it's always great to see you. It's been too long. Thank you for coming on tonight, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, folks. All right, so we'll see how this plays out. Again, not a lot of money, but you still broke the law, and you're a public figure. You're held to a higher standard here in all of this. Hey, let me tell you about my friends over at Energized Health, folks. Listen to me. Energized Health is where I want you to go to get your life back. It's about intercellular hydration. Supercharge your energy, boost your immune system, and dramatically increase your brain function. Look and feel years younger, all through a simple and natural process. Don't believe me? Go to energizedhealth.com. Check out hundreds of amazing testimonials. Energized Health offers 100% money back guarantee. They're A+ rated and have helped thousands over 20 years. Go to energizedhealth.com. While you're there, check out their free masterclass. That's at energizedhealth.com. We'll be right back with more Stinchfield.